If I have to introduce him, I'll probably take up the whole show. So I'm going to briefly tell you a little bit about him, and then of course when you ask him the question and answers, you'll find more about the extraordinary extent of his activities and his background. Dr. Ekmeleddin Ihsanoglu is the 9th Secretary General of the OIC, and he was the first one to have been voted into that position. He was born in Cairo, and in 1966 he got his bachelor's, and in 1970 his master's in chemistry from the AIN Shams University. In 1974 he got his PhD from the University of Ankara, and in between 1975 and 1977 he was a research fellow at the University of Exeter. Of course, he has been a faculty member at the University of Istanbul, founding chair of the Turkish Society for History and Science and ISAR Foundation, member of various international societies worldwide. He's an author, a scholar, a thinker, and a very wise public servant. He has been recognized by his own government, the government of Turkey, with the highest distinguished awards, and also awards from all over the world, from Indonesia to Jordan. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is my distinct privilege and honor to welcome this very distinguished guest here today, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start by thanking our gracious host, Dr. Ali Yurtsever, and the Rumi Forum for giving me this opportunity to meet you. Actually, I'm here for contacts in Washington, D.C., and I thought that it would be a wonderful idea to meet with you here, to engage with you about OIC and the new administration in the United States. Actually, the Obama speech has opened a new horizon and relation between the Muslim world and America. I had the privilege of listening to this speech in Cairo. First-hand impression of what the president said in his speech. I think it was very well written and crafted text, which addressed many aspects of the Muslim world in a very positive way. So it opens a new world, a world of engagement, and a world of partnership, if you like to use the word, which I used in 20th of January when we published here in New York Times and in International Herald Tribune an open letter to the President saying that we're looking forward for a new partnership with the United States, building on his previous statements. Of course, everybody agrees that there is a need for a new relationship between the United States and the Muslim world. And I think this would be for the benefit of both sides. Unfortunately, many of the hot issues, hot spots in the world relates to the Muslim world. Today we are facing a very serious issue in Somalia. The government is about to collapse, the verge of collapse, and the government has been left alone to fight radical movements. And this is just one example of how it is imperative to have such a cooperation between the United States of America and the Muslim world, and with the OIC as the representative of the Muslim world. The main issue, or in my understanding, the talk of the President was addressing 6 points, main issues. But as important as, or even more important than any of these issues, the framework, the conceptual framework President tried to build his intervention, his speech, when he said, we are looking for a partnership with the Muslim world, and we would like to have this partnership built on two premises, two principles. First one, mutual respect, and secondly, mutual interest. I'm really gratified to say that these were almost the same ideas we have put in our letter, open letter to him, when we said we are looking for a new partnership with the United States, but we would like to have this partnership built on mutual respect and mutual interest. We're really glad to notice that this main idea has been well developed, articulated in the President's speech. Of course, as he said, it's not, having said so, having set these parameters for the relationship between the Muslim world and the United States of America, doesn't mean that is the magic solution for everything. We have many big issues to tackle. The task ahead of us is enormous, and it is not an easy one. It's a really difficult task. But this new beginning is promising one, because it accepts the two principles, which would be a common position between the Muslim world and the United States of America, which is mutual interest and mutual respect. One major issue was the assurance that he is, and his administration, against the stereotyping, the negative stereotyping of Islam, and the assurance that he considers Islam as a promoter of peace rather than a part of the problem. And he repeated what he said in Ankara in the Turkish parliament, that America is not in war with Islam and is not going to be in war with Islam. I think this is very important. So this conciliatory and unprecedented speech of the United States President has received a very positive reaction widely in the Muslim world. Now, the question comes how these good intentions will be implemented. This is the major question raised by everybody. Would it be the man in the streets? Would it be media people? Would it be officials? Would it be politicians? Would it be any people interested in the matter? So how this will take place, and through which channels? Of course, the bilateral channels are there, and I need not to dwell on that. This is already established mechanism. But I think collectively, and when it comes to relationship or issues vis-a-vis the Muslim world at large, I think OIC is the institution. OIC, you know, is the second biggest organization after the United Nations. It has 57 members and 5 observers. Last observer, Bosnia and Herzegovina, is an observer, and Russian Federation became the last observer in 2005. And there is a growing demand to be part of OIC in different capacities, as full membership or observer membership. And we are going through a process of assessment how this will be done in the future. So OIC stands for that. OIC is a big organization where it has many institutions, many affiliated, subsidiary, specialized organ, including one of the best functioning development banks, the IDB, and many other institutions. So OIC is in a position to deal with this. When we look to OIC's relation with the United States of America, I think last 2 or 3 years, the former administration became very much interested in building relation with OIC. And I remember the contacts we had with Dr. Rice on different occasions, and at the end of the day, that this culminated in establishing an office or a position for special envoy of the United States, the President of the United States, to the OIC. For a very short period of the lifetime of the last former administration, this position was fulfilled, and it started to work with us. So we have, for instance, on the 1st of December 2008, signed a memorandum of understanding between OIC and the government of the United States of America to extend medical service to 1 million mother in least developed countries, LCDs, in Africa. And now we find that the new administration is carrying out this, and the President has announced a new initiative in his speech in Cairo about polio, fighting polio and cooperation with OIC. So we already had working relation with the administration, former administration, and now we're looking forward for cooperation with the new administration. I think this cooperation is for the benefit of both sides, benefit for the United States of America and the benefit of the Muslim world, and it will contribute to the global peace. I must say that among the most important issues, the core issue in the tension between the Muslim world and the United States is the Palestinian issue. And this issue, if it is not solved according to the already accepted international and legal instruments like UN resolutions, Security Council resolutions, the roadmap, and all other agreements, and that the previous negotiation positions kept and developed, if this is not really solved, speaking about normalization or improvement of relation between East and West would be not the same as we would all expect it to be. So this is an important issue we need to address, and I think now we are in a much better position, particularly as President Obama announced his commitment to solve this issue at the beginning of his term. And this is the first time there is a president who commits himself at the beginning of the term. And that makes, in my understanding, that makes a big difference. So we are expecting these developments to happen. We will be delighted to extend our goodwill and to join efforts with the administration and with President to fulfill and facilitate, to fulfill his intentions and dream. This is a big dream which we share, and we are ready to facilitate the implementation of this vision. Of course, there are different disputes and different problems which involves the United States and some OIC member states. I think OIC can play a role, a positive role in that. And we stand ready to coordinate and harmonize policies and positions between our group, OIC group in the United Nations, would it be in the General Assembly in New York or would it be in the Council of Human Rights in Geneva. So in relation to the 6 or 7 issues the President alluded to in his speech, OIC believes that it can have a positive contribution in realization of these many issues. Let me, at last 5 minutes or 3 minutes I have, tell you more about OIC, the new vision of OIC. As I said, OIC, now this year we are celebrating the 40th anniversary. So it was 1969 which OIC was established. And in 40 years OIC developed vertically and horizontally, quantitatively, qualitatively. And last 4 years I think we came to a point that OIC has succeeded in transforming itself to a different level. OIC has undergone a paradigm shift in these 4 years. Now we have a new vision, we have a new charter, we have a 10-year program of action which addresses many aspects of developing the Muslim world in facing the challenges of modern times and 21st century, challenges of modernization and moderation. There are certain targets which has to be fulfilled in 10 years in political aspects, good governance, human rights, in socio-economic developments, in fighting diseases, in increasing inter-trade, in promoting science and technology, research and development, quality education, women's position, human rights issues. We are now about establishing an independent commission for human rights. And I think this is a revolutionary step towards the development of the Muslim world and in facing the challenges and in fulfilling aspirations of the people, of the society. The empowering of women inside the society, again, is one of our main targets, and we have done few concrete steps in that. If question comes from your side, I will be happy to explain. So OIC is no longer the static OIC which was 6-7 years ago. Now it is in a new institution, dynamic. It's heard, it's seen, and it's contributing to international peace and security, and became a counterpart. And now the Muslim world itself is going through important transformation. If you look to the G20, the biggest 20 economies in the world, G20, 3 of them are from OIC: Turkey, Indonesia, Saudi Arabia. 3. And I'm sure in short time other countries will join. If you look to the Security Council, non-permanent, 4 countries: Turkey, Burkina Faso, Uganda, and Libya. 4 countries. So the OIC countries are progressing, and we're seeing signs of progress in all fields. Of course, we may be happy with some progress taking place in country A, we may be not happy with things going in country B, but for sure the caravan of progress and change is going on. Maybe it is going with different pace, speed here and there, but we will, in few decades, you will see a different Muslim world. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I appreciate it very much. This was very enlightening. You had to listen to your broad vision and also the impending changes that you are bringing into these great organizations. Thank you so much for your presence and for your indulgence. Ladies and gentlemen, I will open up the floor to questions and answers. I would appreciate very much if you could limit your questions to questions and not statements. And secondly, you know, if you would, if anybody is missing and I don't get to see them, please raise your hand and get my attention. There will be a microphone there, and we'll pass on the microphone. And so anybody who wants to speak, please raise your hand like this gentleman, and we'll start with you with the first question. There's a microphone.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. A very brief question. Does the OIC have, or will it have, a position on the current crisis in Sudan, and particularly in Darfur? And secondly, will your independent Human Rights Commission be investigating the current situation there and issuing any recommendations for other Muslim countries?
In Sudan and Darfur?
And yes.
Thank you. Well, for Sudan and Darfur, we really have been quite active. I recently was in Darfur, about 3-4 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. I was in Darfur with a big delegation. And I have been to Khartoum many times, and my colleagues were all around for many times. We're aware of the problem there. It has been a complex problem, and as the solution of the problem is delayed, the complexity of the issue is growing, and taking a dangerous aspects. When you look to the problem at the very beginning, it was a simple problem. It was a problem created because the climate change has forced people to change their way of life and to move from lands they used to live there for centuries. From time immemorial until recently, they were living in these places. It was a problem of water, of rain, to problem of feeding their sheep and herds, etc. And then they started to become a fighting between tribes. So had it been solved at this point, when it first came years back, we'd have been in a different place. But unfortunately, this was not done. Then you have political implications locally, and then you have international implications internationally, and you have intervention from all over the world. Added to this interest, economic interest, political interest of certain powers. So the simple thing ended to be a complex issue. Now, what is the solution to all this? The solution is to strike a balance between the demand for justice and the prerequisites of stability and security in the country, and the territorial integrity of the country. Because this is, if the territorial integrity of this country comes at stake, that would really be beyond Sudan and Darfur. It will be the whole continent. And it might go beyond that. So we really have to find a solution within this framework.
Next question, that lady over there.
Mina Al-Araybi, Al-Sharq Al-Awsat newspaper. I want to ask you about the building of trust between the United States and many of the Muslim worlds or amongst Muslim peoples. Like you said, the speech was very moving and a lot of people commented about it, but there's still a long way for trust. So what advice would you give to the American administration to build that sort of trust? Thank you.
Well, this is a difficult question to answer. Well, let's put it this way. Now we are in a new page. We have a new page. And we have, in the name of the President of the United States, a pledge to open a new page and work for a new partnership between the Muslim world and the United States. And then he has shared his vision with the Muslim world in 6 chapters or 6 points, main points. I think we might differ on certain aspects of this and that. Some of us would love to see more, some of us would say why this point is not included, but I think generally we appreciate that and we accept that. Now, the test of the good intentions is a good deed. So we are looking for the deeds. And this is why we are extending our hand as OIC to the administration, saying, okay, if you want to implement this, we are ready to cooperate with you. We are representatives of the Muslim world, official representatives, and we are the voice of the Muslim Ummah. So we are ready to cooperate with you, and we are looking for certain programs. And as I said, the core issue, no doubt, is the Palestinian issue. Of course, there are other issues, and we should have different tracks or different channels for different issues, but that means we always should keep eye on the first issue.
Gentleman, sir. I'll come to this side.
Hello,
Next
Mr.
one,
President.
next question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I'm Albert Santoli from Asia America Initiative, and we do development, social and economic development. Does the IDB have plans to be working on a more subnational basis, working more at the community-based level, so that the economic and social development can be coming from the communities and building from the bottom up, so that the human rights, the moderation, and all can be fully integrated with the economic programs?
I think this issue more relates to not IDB as such, but it relates to OIC, the General Secretary, because we are working in these directions. But let me tell you about IDB, because IDB is one of our prominent institutions. The new meeting of the General Assembly of the IDB was recently in Ashgabat. So that shows the interest now IDB is giving to this part of the world. When we come to your point, for the first time in history of OIC, that a window for NGOs has been opened. And now we have been working very hard with NGOs to coordinate their efforts, particularly in the field of humanitarian aid activities. We've been successful with the orphans of Aceh. We have a very ambitious program to sponsor 25,000 orphans in Aceh. We have been successful with dealing with the earthquake in Yogyakarta and in Pakistan. Now we are sending a delegation. We wanted to send it quite a time, but the Pakistani government advised us to wait a little bit to Sawat to see for these immigrants and
Refugee issue.
refugees, yes. But we're waiting to get a green light from Islamabad. We've been very active with Gaza, particularly after the last assault on Gaza. 3 days ago, the first eye clinic in Gaza was opened with the help of OIC, and it was all on the news. So we are active in this, and we think that we're going to be more active. We've been just 4 years introducing this reform and new vision in OIC.
You, and then after that, sir, I'll get to you, if you don't mind. I have to look at the right side of my arm.
Alaikum salam.
My name is Abbas Shaffer. I'm with a program called the Muslim Public Service Network based in Washington. My question, you said someone might ask about gender issues, so I'm asking about gender issues. My question is, how in terms of your leadership of this large organization that represents many different viewpoints on gender roles, on gender interaction, how do you balance the opinions of some of your member states with the rise of certain transnational movements like Musawa, for example? How do you see that going forward in terms of your role as an umbrella organization representing
Like Musawa, what you?
It's a gender and women's sort of movement that has gone on. They had a meeting in Indonesia early this year to talk about the evolution and possibly the development in a new direction of gender interactions under an Islamic framework.
Well, thank you. I have to say that OIC has been established as governmental organization. Governmental. It has its membership consists of governments. So all agendas or agenda items, whether it be political, social, economic, or the new items we have been introduced like science, technology, like environment, like women, like human rights, are processed through deliberations where representatives of governments are taking part. This level of representation can start from very junior diplomatic presentation to ministers, to heads of states, etc., etc. But as I said, we have opened a window where we get NGOs and organizations, similar organizations, to meet among themselves, and we will have we are trying to develop a kind of a council for these organizations where they can come and reflect, express their opinions, and this could be reflected or submitted to the representative of the governments. So we're working on that.
Your turn, sir.
Oh.
You need the microphone here.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
It's very heartening to see new face and the new paradigm of OIC matching with the new face and the new paradigm of the US. So we are very optimistic and looking forward. I am representing the Islamic Society of North America, which is the largest Muslim community organization in America. So Obama, in his speech, identified the resourcefulness of the American Muslim community. We are a bridge between America and the Muslim world. So naturally, we have to play a major role with OIC itself. So I'm wondering, I mean, even though we don't have yet a status there, and you have already brought some of these non-sovereign states into OIC, if at some later stage we will have a formal role to play. but I just wanted to see that there is a recognition of this fact. Because this is the most resourceful community in America. Yesterday, I was at the White House with Obama. We were celebrating a very unique event in America. That was, we as religious organizations together fought against tobacco in America. And within 10 years, we were able to pass regulations and bills. Yesterday, he signed that bill banning the use of tobacco for children. So that shows how in America religions are playing a major role in reforming American society in different ways. So that is the kind of role we would like to see in the rest of the world, in particular in the Muslim world in that sense.
Well, I think very clearly that, as I repeatedly said, the speech of the president has been a historical event. This is the first time a president of the United States expresses all these ideas in a very genuine matter and style. And he has one of the important statements he made about the number of the Muslims in this country. He said the Muslims in the United States are about 8 million Muslims. So we didn't know about that. And we're always hearing different figures, Mr. Chairman. But when you hear from the president himself, it's khalas, this is it. This is it. So I think 8 million population of 8 million Muslims makes America, with its population, more than many countries, 5-6 countries, a lot. When you bring all the Gulf countries, with the exception of Saudi Arabia, they don't make 8 million.
Next question. Anybody from this side? Yes, sir.
Maybe last question, yes.
Last question.
My name's John Boyer. I'm with One Blue. A month ago, I was at a conference on innovative journalism at Stanford University, and the OIC came up in conversation. I thought you would be interested to know. There was a group there from Sama TV telling about their campaign to inoculate against polio using television in a public health way. And in talking with the people from Sama TV, we mentioned, because I work in the media here, that there were two subjects that Americans know little about that would be better for them to be more informed about. One was biotechnology, and the research being done by Islamic societies in this realm, very cutting edge. The other was Islamic finance. And they put us in touch with Comstech.
Islamic
finance.
Finance.
And of course, the idea is that there are many different aspects of this. But the one with the science, I think, was the most interesting. My friend, who is an intellectual property attorney, was very interested to know about this. And he put us in touch with Professor Anwar Nassim, who's a member of the Comstech thing, and we're now in email touch with him. My question is there a way in which, because I think the public perception that actually very interesting things are being done in this realm, that the OIC is involved in, is now something that doesn't get much attention here. Is there anything that you could tell us about that they are working on, or perhaps are ways in which we could raise public awareness that there are people here interested in the work that's being done within the OIC on this realm?
Thank you.
Thank you. This is good for a change. Science and technology. I have to tell you that I was a former student of science. Yes. And this is why I thought that we have to give impetus to the agenda, scientific agenda, or this agenda of science and technology of OIC. And now we have many bodies. We have a very active now, it became active last 4 years, Department for Science and Technology. And they are doing very fine work. And one of the, an answer to you, a new project which we are embarked on with the Nature. You know the Nature magazine, of course. Atlas of Innovation in the Muslim world. So this Atlas of Innovation will bring the cutting edge technologies developed within OIC countries and make an atlas of it, which will open venues and channels of cooperation between scientific circles all over the world. But 2 weeks or 10 days ago, there was a meeting in London where our colleagues with other partners of the project in Royal Society and British Royal Society, they signed the terms of reference. So the Atlas project is now has been launched. So this is a direct answer. There is other aspect of the issue, which is ComStec. ComStec in 1981, the Islamic Summit, the OIC Summit, established 3 permanent committees headed by 3 heads of states to overview the activities in OIC. One for science technology, one for economic commercial relations, one with the information and culture. The one in permanent committee information was proposed to be headed by Senegal, President of Senegal, and it is under the President of Senegal. Economy and commerce to the President of Turkey, and still under the President of Turkey. Science technology to be headed by the President of Pakistan. So ComStec, again, in the last few years, developed to be active. And in my time, there is an organ established which was impossible before I came, tried very hard and they couldn't. I'm glad to say that I facilitated this, and now there will be an independent research body under ComStec. And here you have the proper name, Dr. Anwar Nasimi. You have Dr. Atar Rahman also. He is the head of this ComStec project. You can be in touch with them for more detailed activities.
Mr. Ambassador, we have one last question.
One last question, okay. Sure.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yahya Hindi, Secretary General of a new organization called Clergy Beyond Borders, who are made of rabbis, priests, and imams, in order to engage clergy around the world with peace education.
But you know, Islam has no clergy.
Well, we have imams.
But it's not clergy. Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you. We're trying to engage clergy around the world, including imams, rabbis, and priests, with the idea of interfaith dialogue, peace education, and conflict resolution. I want to hear from you, where does the OIC stand on interfaith relations, interreligious relations, and what do you have in mind in terms of ideas, plans, conferences, to engage religious communities around the world with peace education? Thank you.
I thank you. I think I get more happy and happy to see more activities of this interfaith, because we need dialogue. Dialogue is a must. Lack of dialogue means more misunderstanding, means more stereotyping, and means more sensitivity and confrontation. So dialogue between faiths or the believers, put it better way, dialogue among believers is something we need. But I'm also critical of this, in the sense that we have to look to the matter in its totality, not only what we are doing and what is going on next to us. When you look to the matter in its totality, there has been calls for dialogue, attempts and initiatives on a very high level on academic level, on grassroots level, and I would say the most successful among this is the one on grassroots level. Because if you're living in this place and you have a neighbor from different religion, and if you tell him how do you believe, how you practice, and he tells you, and you live in peace and respect each other, I think this is an excellent thing. I do believe in that, and I would encourage that. When you go up in the hierarchy, when you come to the global level of interfaith dialogue, we then have to take in consideration the long history of this. It is more than 40 years now that this was happening. I happen to be, for the last 30 years, part of one of these highest interfaith dialogue. I wouldn't go to details now. Very high level. Have the best and highest possible figures from the Muslim world and from the West. And I have to admit that at the moment of truth, these dialogues proved to be failure. Take the case of the cartoons, on the Danish cartoons. The Danish cartoons happened in September 2005. The Vatican's first statement against this appeared in February 2006. I wouldn't go to details. I wouldn't go to more than that. Here we have a problem. Dialogue for the sake of dialogue doesn't work, particularly on global level. This is why we propose, I do propose, that what we need on the, I keep what I said for the grassroots, and I do respect that, and I encourage that. But for the global one, I would say there should be a target objective, should be an agenda, and should be a commitment, a political will on two sides. And this agenda should be a progressive agenda that ends towards the target fixed, agreed upon. And if you ask me what should be this target, I would say we need historical reconciliation between Islam and Christianity, as it was the case between Christianity and Judaism. They have been very successful in 1960s, a process of reconciliation between Islam and Judaism. Sorry, I repeat, between Christianity and Judaism. So we have to do the same between Islam and Christianity.
Thank you. And before we conclude, obviously we have been privileged by your presence, Your Excellency. The President of the Rumi Forum, Dr. Ali Yurtsever, would like to vote his thanks with you.
Thank you very much for this very insightful talk.